everyone. Welcome to episode 4. I feel so gassed now that I can say everyone, because there's a couple people that actually listen to this now, and I stuttered when I said that because I felt nervous, but there's like 6 people that listen to this podcast, and 6 people is a lot, so I'm actually gassed, and I can say you guys without feeling stupid now, and that's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Okay, welcome to episode 4. I have a lot to talk about today, and I think I kind of have a grip on what I want to do with the podcast as far as like segments. So I think I'm going to start it off with like a thought of the day, like something I've been thinking about for, months, weeks, days. I'm going to do like, am I the asshole? Because I watch a couple other podcasts and I know that they read their audience's stories that they send to them, and they ask the podcasters, are they the asshole? And then they give their response. But I'm not going to do that because I don't have an audience. Everybody that listens to this is just my friend or my coworker. So I'm going to kind of flip it and tell a story from one of my personal experiences and ask, am I the asshole? And then just get the responses based off of that. And then maybe like a question in the middle. We'll see. Okay, so I do want to start with the thought of the day. So something I've been thinking about recently is I've been getting in touch with a lot of Christians and just a lot of religious people lately, which I'm absolutely fine with. Both of my parents are Christian. I am not, however. Like I said, it doesn't bother me at all. I'll even pray with anybody, just out of respect for their belief system. Because I would never disrespect, anyway. But I had a funny thought maybe 2 days ago about where I find myself in the line of belief. Because I remember back when I was about 18, I used to always tell people that I was spiritual and that I wasn't religious. And I just don't think that that's true anymore. Especially now that the age I am now, 18-year-old me was such a different person. And I think that I used spirituality. I think I used that word to cover up the fact that I have no belief in anything. And it just softened the blow a little bit. When people ask me questions about God, or when people ask me if I knew the word or anything out of the Bible, or if anything, I would just say, oh, I'm not into that. I'm more of a spiritual person, because by my definition, a religion is a set of beliefs that tells you why you should believe, what you should believe, and how. And there could be one God or a number of gods, but it's, a set of why, when, how. And spirituality is no set of beliefs. It's more to do with the mind, body, and spirit, right? If I'm wrong, correct me, but that's just based on what I think I know. And so, like I said, that word was kind of my scapegoat, even though I've only dabbled a little bit into what spirituality actually is. Now, being the age I am now, with all of my mental health issues that I go through, I find it that trying to cover up or fight depression with spirituality is really, it just doesn't work. Because people who have depression, well, I can only speak from my experience. I don't want to speak for everybody who has it. From my experience, having depression is exhausting in the most definite way possible. So when I start to think about, what do I actually believe in? Like, what are my spiritual beliefs if I do classify myself as someone who is spiritual? What are my spiritual beliefs? And the thought of even going that deep inside my brain and trying to learn myself so deeply is not only scary, but it's overwhelming. Because having depression and having PTSD, which are two things that I'm diagnosed with, I sometimes can't be bothered with myself. And I know this is going to sound terrible, but I also cannot be bothered with anything outside of myself. I know I just kind of said two things that kind of contradict each other. But with my specific disorder of depression, there are some days where I am in my head so deeply, I can literally see myself sitting across from myself, thinking myself into this otherworldly abyss, right? To the point where all I can do is just go to bed, because that's the only way it's going to just shut off my brain and my thoughts and everything. But then there's some days where I really, 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 truly want to get to know myself, and I start diving into what I do believe, what I find right and wrong, what I would do in certain situations, what I believe in morally, systematically, emotionally. I really do want to get a handle on who I am as a person. And every day it just feels impossible. So when I try to dive into even religion or spirituality, it just feels like I'm trying to fill my mind with something else other than the depressed thoughts that I have on a everyday basis. It feels like my mind is like, shh, like focus on something else. And that made me feel bad for a minute, because I thought it was bad to not believe in anything. And it's not. It's not. I don't think it's bad to believe in something, whether you are spiritual or religious. I don't think that's bad. I actually think that's wonderful, because you're not as mentally fucked up as you could be. At least you have something to believe in. You have something that guides your morals or your way of thinking or your belief system. You have something that is permanent. You have something that is always going to be there in hard times and in the struggle. You have something that is like, well, at least I have my God. At least I have this. At least I have that. And I think that's admirable. I, on the other hand, don't have that. And I don't necessarily think that my mental health causes me to not have it. I do think my mental health causes me to not want it. And like I said, for a long time, I wouldn't admit that, because I thought it meant that I was just like a rogue person. Like I was just like a rogue human being. Like, how do you not believe in anything? How do you not believe in God? How do you not believe in, spirits or anything? Especially growing up with two Christians, the word God is used in my house more than once a day. And I don't know. It's just, I think my depression and all of my other mental health issues have just kind of taken over to the point where I know what it is to be a decent human being. And that is pretty much the only thing I can handle at this point. Because I don't think I could handle the weight of being a Christian. I don't think I could handle the consequential thoughts of being Christian and a spiritual person. Like, just to give an example, I asked my mom a question a couple years back because she is Christian, and I asked her, do you think that you're such a nice person and that you do all these nice things for other people because you're afraid to go to hell? Or do you do it because you know it's the right thing to do? And she kind of gave me an answer that said yes to both. Yes, she does it because she knows that God would want her to help out, which would lead her to, you know, his good graces and going to heaven and whatnot. But also that if she really wanted to do it and she felt good about doing it, then she would do it. And I think that separates myself from a lot of people who are religious and spiritual, is because I don't have those type of thoughts. I don't think if I do something wrong that I'm going to go to hell, or the whole judgment day thing. I just don't believe in that. So whenever I can help somebody, I do, because I know that if I ever needed help, I would want somebody to help me. And that's just how I live my life. It's not necessarily to be in someone else's good graces. You know, I have been through a lot in my life, and there are times where I've wanted people to reach out to me and help me, and nobody did. So when I do get the opportunities to help, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, I do it every time because I know what it feels like to be on that side. And in no way am I saying that that makes me better than someone who wants to get into heaven, because like I said, that's admirable on its own. You know, to think that somebody's watching over you to make sure you do the right thing, to make sure you get into the right spot. I think that's a wonderful way to live life. I do think that, I don't want to say my way is more authentic, because it's not. People who are Christians and believe in God, actually, it's not inauthentic, because that's what they believe. That's the real thing. So I don't know. This is why this is the thought of the day, because it's something that I've been really thinking about. And finally just learning that I can't cover up depression with spirituality and not give anybody the definition of how I'm actually spiritual. I'm not anything. I don't believe in anything. I am just a good person. And that took me a lot. It took me a really long time to be able to say that, because, you know, people judge and people say, well, you have to believe in something. Well, you should try out this religion, or you should try out this method. And I just can't. I can. I don't want it to seem like I'm unable to do anything. I don't want to. I just don't want to. I struggle enough mentally, and I don't want anything else in there scrambling around. And after a while, back when I did do my studies and experiences on spirituality, it started to feel like a religion. It started to feel like there were set beliefs and set rituals and set, you know, just things that I had to be a part of, or I had to do in order to classify myself as spiritual. And it just got overwhelming. And I'm just an overwhelmed person in general. So that's when I truly realized that maybe I should stop telling people that I am spiritual, because I don't think I am. I don't think I'm anything. So yeah, that's my thought of the day, guys, is that I'm nothing. I'm nobody. I'm just kidding. And I really hope that if there are Christians listening to this, if you have stumbled across this podcast, I really don't want you to think that I think your religion is stupid. I don't want you to think that I'm belittling your religion. I don't want anybody to think that what I have going on is better than what their belief system is. That is not what I'm trying to say at all. Like I said, I was raised by 2 Christians. I respect everyone's belief system. But I also would like it if the same respect was returned. Because I have had similar conversations to this with other people in religion. And, they tell me, well, maybe that one's not for you. You should try this one. Or maybe you just haven't heard the word right. Or maybe I've heard all the words. I know about, just about every religion. And I don't want one. I don't want one. And I think that scares some people to just be kind of a floating mental space. But it's okay. Trust me. I like it. It's not a bad thing. Like I said, I know the definition of what it means to be a good person and have a good heart. And that is what I base my choices, my judgment, my beliefs, and my everyday actions on. So please don't click off of this podcast because I'm not a Christian, or I'm not, a really spiritual girl. I'm just out here depressed and trying to live life. So that's my thought of the day, guys. If anybody understands, please let me know. And I'm also not atheist. Because I feel like that's a really strong definition of what an atheist is. And I'm not that either. But if you are, and you can relate to anything I've just said in the past 17 minutes, I really want to know your thoughts. Because, sometimes when I talk to myself or when I'm having conversations with people, I kind of think myself into the fact that I'm the only one who has these thoughts. I'm the only one who feels like this. I'm the only one who can come to this type of conclusion. And I know that's not true. So if you hear this just randomly, or if you know somebody who thinks like this, send this podcast to them and tell them the timestamp to go to, because I really want to know. And I think it'll be lovely to hear somebody who doesn't suffer from mental illness, but also feels the same about religion and spirituality. I feel like hearing their perspective would also be different than mine, because I know mine is heightened by depression and PTSD and etc. So that would be nice. Okay. Thought of the day is over. Let's go to the question of the day. All right, guys. The question of the day is, I had a very good friend ask me about last week if there was anything I could do better than anyone in the entire world, what would it be? And that was one of the best questions I've ever heard in my life. I don't know if that's just because I've never been asked a plethora of good questions, or if this question just caught me off guard when my friend asked. I have so many answers for this question, but I also have none, if that makes sense. Of course, the first things that came to mind were all negative, because that's just immediately what my thoughts cling to. But then I kind of got discouraged because it was taking me longer to think about something positive. If I could do anything in the whole world better than anybody in the whole world, what would it be? My first answer was to hold a grudge. My second answer was to judge. And I had a third answer, but I can't remember. But it was all negative, you see? You see how both of those are not good? The reason why I said hold a grudge was because I kind of think I already do that. I can hold a grudge like nobody's tomorrow. Because my way of forgiving people is the whole out of sight, out of mind. And so if somebody ever does anything to me to where I think they don't deserve to speak to me anymore, then everything about that person is out of my life, and vice versa. I will block, I will delete, I will move away, I will do everything so that that person no longer has access to me and I no longer have access to them. So it's not necessarily forgive and forget, is just out of sight, out of mind. But trust me, when the sight comes back, so does the anger. So I just don't forgive easily. I don't, because when somebody does something to me that requires me, sorry, I sound so stuffed up. I'm getting sick. This Florida weather is crazy. If somebody does anything to me that requires me to cut off all communication and access to myself, then they had to do something very, very drastic to me, because I'm not that emotional with my, I'm not just like, oh, you stepped on my toe, I'll never speak to you again. It has to be something that truly, truly hurt my feelings or caused me harm in some type of way. So, and things like that, I don't think deserve forgiveness. I just think it deserves no access. And people always say, well, you need to forgive for yourself. The forgiving for myself is the fact that they can no longer reach out to me. That's, you can't just forgive in one day. It takes time. It takes years. You can't just say, oh, I forgive you, and now all of the emotions you had for that one person are just uplifted. That's not how it works. The forgiveness for myself is coming after that person no longer has access to me. And the years after that, how that no access makes me feel and how I build myself back up from that incident is the forgiveness that I'm giving myself. So that's why I said hold a grudge, because I just do that well now. But I do want to try to find a positive one that I would do, and it would probably be something stupid like sing, and I don't know how that makes me feel. Why can't I find something positive that if I could do it better than anyone in the entire world, what would it be? And you know what? I genuinely think it would be something that nobody can do. Which I don't know what that says about me. You know what I mean? I genuinely think if I could do something better than anybody in the entire world, it would be to talk to animals. But nobody can do that. Nobody is Dr. Dolittle. And I mean, like, actually, like Dr. Dolittle, like talk to animals. Like, I can understand what they're saying. They can understand what I'm saying. And we have like dialogue together. That would be the one thing that I could do better than anybody else in the entire world, because nobody in the entire world can do that, at least that I know of. So yeah, I think that would be it. Why I can't name something that somebody can actually do, I don't know. But yeah, I think that would be it, to talk to animals, which is crazy. Also, fun fact, if I had like 3 wishes, to talk to animals would be like my first wish. Just a little fun fact. Okay, so guys, now it's time for the Am I the Asshole? Like I said, this is going to be your normal podcast, Am I the Asshole? It's going to be me telling one of my personal stories and wanting feedback to see if I'm the asshole. Now, I will be asking these questions because I kind of do feel like the asshole. I'm not going to lie. These questions are specifically picked because I've either been called an asshole in these situations or I felt like an asshole after the situation was over. Okay? All right, here we go. So today's Am I the Asshole scenario would be about me and an old friend that I had. And I don't know why I'm choosing this story for today, but I recently had a dream about her, and I don't know if that's because I miss her or I don't know, or if something's going on with her and I should reach out to her, but I suck at doing that because I just can't. Okay, so I had a friend recently, and I lost a friend recently. She was my best friend. We're gonna call her Tanya. We're gonna call her Tanya. And so me and Tanya met at a place we both worked at. And we'll dig into Tanya later on in the episodes. I was about to give you the full, like, one-on-one, like the full Disney 411, but I'm just going to skip right to the am I the asshole part. So long story short, me and Tanya became like best friends. Like, this was my bitch. I would like wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to take her to work, even if I didn't have to work, because we would like smoke in the parking lot. And then I would pick her up from work, and then we just hang out for the rest of the day. Like, her dog was like my son. That was my best friend. Every day, talking every day, all day. Right? We both suffer from numerous mental illnesses. And we kind of trauma bonded on that. I'm slowly but surely learning these days that trauma bonds aren't something that are... they're not really special relationships. They're just sugar-coated acid reflux relievers wrapped in a friendship bow. You know what I mean? But I'm not saying that to diminish our friendship, because we did genuinely have a great friendship. That was my girl. But we were also both different, right? Even though we suffered from a couple of the same exact mental illnesses, how we handled them were different, and who we were as people were different. And it got in the way of a lot of conversations, arguments, and like explanations. I am a very blunt person when it comes to my mental illnesses. I'm someone that can talk about self-harm. I can talk about, all of the spirals that come with having depression, anxiety, PTSD. I can talk about my breakdowns, and I can just openly talk about it because it's not something that I'm scared of anymore. I'm a fully grown woman now, and I have nothing to hide because it's literally who I am. Like I said, having depression and being depressed are two different things. I've had it since I was born. It's just part of my personality now. So I'm very open when it comes to it. I'm very blunt. She was more of the kind of, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but she was more, I want to say, closed off about hers. Like, she wouldn't just dive into her mental illness upon meeting someone, like I would. So we also grew up different. I grew up very, unfortunately, poverty, homelessness, foster care, things like that. She grew up very Christian, suburbs, wholesome family. Besides, your family drama. She did have some daddy issues. And so she grew up in a culture that I did not grow up in. I grew up around Black and Hispanic people, and she grew up around all white people. And that in itself used to cause us a lot of a lot of disagreements and a lot of arguments. Not like bad arguments, but just like loud disagreements. And as a Black person, you can always tell when another Black person has been closely you can tell I'm trying so hard not to say anything wrong. You can always tell when another Black person has been close in relations with white people, right? For a long period of time. You can always tell. I don't want to name the reasons you can tell, but you just can. And so I don't know why that used to just bother me about her. It just did. And so she had a guy friend who may or may not have been Black. We're not even going to get into it. And she also was a virgin. So glad I did not say her real name. Nobody's listening to this, by the way, so it's okay. And he, she had never had any sexual experiences, no romantic physical experiences. So she would frequently ask me questions about, what does this mean? What should I do? Does he like me? Should I say this? Should we plan a date? And I was always like, yeah, girl, yeah. Like, oh my God, you're going to get like your first kiss. Like it was hype. Right. But then she met this specific guy, and, he would, like, their first couple of interactions, he was being like real aggressive or just like talking out the side of his neck a little bit. And I was like, I don't think this motherfucker, like, I don't like the way he talking. Like, this is weird. Like, I remember there was one situation where I think they went out to dinner and he asked her to do something for him. And he was like, it's okay. I usually get what I want out of women anyway. And I was like, girl, I would have ran away from that table with you. That sounds scary a little bit. I don't know though. That sounds a little crazy to me. For me, personally, I wouldn't have that. But because she had never had any sexual, romantic relationships or experiences, I think she was just so gassed that somebody was showing interest in her that she wasn't picking up on the red flags at all. Even when I was like throwing the red flag in her face, I was like, look at this bright ass red flag. She would be like, no, but he's so sweet. And so it was kind of irritating me. And there was a couple more things that he said, and I was just like, okay, well, you need to just block him, because no. And I cannot remember for the life of me what the last thing he said to her was, to the point where I was just like, yeah, no, this nigga's cut off. Like, you need to stop talking to him, because he seems like the type of man that would like put his hands on you or do some crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like, let's just stop talking to him. And she agreed. She was like, yeah, I'm just going to block him. Like, I can't deal with this. And I'm like, good girl, because you deserve a man that's going to really man. You know what I mean? This nigga's tripping. So long story short, she didn't block him. She was still in conversation with him, which pissed me off. But I was like, you know what? Go off, girl. You do you, boo-boo. You do you. I don't care. Just as long as you don't give him anything, like the cute flirtatious text and a free meal every once in a while, girl, do your thing. You know what I mean? Because we all got one of them. Well, we all had one of them. But then I get a random text one day saying that she had her first sexual experience, and I'm gassed. I couldn't answer right away because I was at work and I was getting off work and I had to do that long ass airport walk. So when I got home, I was like, oh my God, like, tell me everything. Who, first of all, who, girl? Who the hell did this? And when did you have time? I'm gassed, because I'm like, what the fuck? Yesterday we were talking about first kisses, and now today you didn't done a little something, So then I'm joking and I'm like, please don't tell me it was, let's call him, Brick. Please don't tell me it was Brick. And I'm joking. And she's like, it was. And my heart like sank to my ass. And I'm like, oh my God, bitch, I don't even want to know anymore. I'm still joking. And then she goes, okay, fine, then I won't tell you. And just ignores me for the rest of the day. And in future episodes, I'm going to explain why that hurt the fuck out of my feelings, right? Because I was joking. And she was like, all right, bet, bitch. And I was like, oh. So a couple days later, we start talking again, and I tell her that, that really hurt my feelings. I don't like that. If we're best friends like I thought we were, you would have been able to pick up on the fact that I was joking. Was I disappointed that you did things with this man that didn't deserve it? Yes. But bitch, this is your first sexual experience. Of course I want to know. Like, of course I want to know. And the fact that you were just so comfortable with not telling me really hurt my feelings. And still to this day, never told me. Still to this day, never told me what happened. So then a couple more things happen with him. She's complaining about him doing this and that and that. And I'm like, how about as friends, for like boundary circumstances, how about you just don't talk to me about him? How about let's just not talk about him? We have plenty to talk about. We've been friends for years. Let's just not talk about him because it's pissing me off to even hear his name. And so I don't think she liked that. And so we'd talk a couple days later and I'd be like, what you doing, girl? You want to come over? And, she would be like, no, well, I'm going to hang out with so-and-so. And I'm just like, I can't do this. So I stopped talking to her. And I know that sounds bad, but I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I was like, I can't be the friend to pull you out of, Stockholm syndrome. You are telling me how bad of a man this is. I'm repeating it back to you how bad of a man he is. And somehow he's still getting lucky with you. You're still going out on dates. You're still letting him do things to you. You guys are still in conversation. I can't handle stuff like that. Because like I said, I already struggle with self-esteem issues. I already have depression. I already have PTSD. I can't be around someone that doesn't, I don't know. I just can't be around someone that also goes through those things because it's going to make me feel like when I have those thoughts that it's okay. I need to be around people who have confidence, who have self-embetterment, qualities. You know what I mean? I can't, both of us can't be low self-esteem having bitches. You know what I mean? Both of us can't be just down and out, So I stopped talking to her and she didn't care. She didn't care at all. Blocked me and everything. But, that just is what it is. And I only felt like an asshole because I didn't explain to her why I stopped talking to her. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I think that day I decided to stop talking to her, I was already having a spiral. So everything just kind of spiraled out. And I was just like, I can't do this. And so I just want to know, am I the asshole for that? Because like I said, there was a couple other things that maybe in later episodes I'll discuss that was, going on with me and her, but I don't know. And I do miss her sometimes. I'm not one of those girls that be like, I don't miss no friend I don't miss no bitch that I fell out with. I'm not one of those girls. I do miss her. I do miss genuinely having a best friend. I do. Because that bitch knows literally every detail about my life that my parents don't even know, that my siblings don't even know, my cousins don't even know, my partners in relationships don't even know. That girl knows every fucking thing about me. And I just miss not having to explain my life to somebody in order to tell them a recent story that happened. You know what I mean? I do miss having that. So, and like I said, I dreamt about her a few days ago. And I don't know if that means I need to reach out to her, which I won't, because I never do that. I can miss you from now until the day the world ends, and you will never know. Because I don't know why I do that. I don't know why. I just can't. Once I cut ties with people, that's it. I can't double back, and I don't know why, even though I want to. I just can't. But yeah, so if you listen to this and you think I'm the asshole, just tell me. Just tell me. I take criticism very well. I wanted to do another segment, but I think that's going to be it for today, guys. I'm going to try and do an outro. So, thank you for listening to my podcast. Thank you for listening to me talk. This is the Chemically Imbalanced Black Girl Podcast. And thank you for listening to me talk, even though I said that again already. See, I don't know how to do an outro. Oh my gosh. But yes, the next episode is going to be coming out on Friday. So just stay tuned and yeah, bye guys.